Hello and welcome. The world is witnessing a strange phenomena. All these years we have heard people being displaced from hydel dams or the big projects and so on. We have seen lakhs and millions of people being moved out because of the projects coming in, the mega projects coming in, or the industrial projects coming in, as well as the big hydroelectric power projects coming in. But now the world is witnessing a strange and a new phenomena, as I said earlier, and that is the phenomena where we are trying to displace people from agriculture and trying to push them out of agriculture and move them into urban areas. This is what I call as the new brand or the new breed or the new army of agriculture refugees is being created the world over. Now, some 20 years back, it was exactly in 1996 that I happened to attend a conference at Chennai in India. In the conference, the then Vice President of the World Bank and the Chairman of the Consultative Group on International Agriculture Research, CGIAR, which is the governing body of the International Agriculture Research Centers, was very clear and categorical when he said that, this was in 1996, don't forget, when he said that the number of people who will be migrating from the rural to the urban areas in India by the year 2015, which was 20 years hence, will be equal to twice the combined population of UK, France and Germany. Now, the combined population of UK, France and Germany is 200 million. So the World Bank actually predicted that 400 million people would be moving out of rural into the urban areas in India by the year 2015. And we are quite close to 2015 now. Now, what is worrisome is that this massive translocation of population or this population shift that we talk about, what it means as far as the socio-economic conditions are concerned, as far as the political economy of a country is concerned, and whether this will be something that the governments should be encouraging, or this is something that we should be really worried of, or we should be concerned about and try to see that this does not take place. Well, for many years I thought the World Bank had actually given us a warning. But when I look at the recent developments, especially following the 2008 global economic crisis, I realized that actually it was a prescription, it was an economic prescription being doled out by the World Bank to the developing countries, and India being no exception. And we were told that we must move these people out of agriculture into the urban areas in India. Imagine 400 million people, more than the population of the United States, migrating or being pushed out of agriculture or the rural areas in India into the urban centers. I think is something that everyone across the globe should be worried about. It has serious implications not only for India, but I think even for the global community. And this is not only India. What I'm going to share with you is that this phenomena is happening across the globe today. Last few weeks we saw what has happened in Colombia. Thousands and thousands of farmers stay put in the cities for about 7 days, and they blocked the roads leading to the capital. Eventually, they were protesting, and eventually the government did come about to have a negotiation with them. But that clearly tells us that Colombia is not in isolation. This is happening in Africa. This is happening in several countries of Africa. It's happening in Asia. It's happening in Latin America, and of course, it's happening in India and China. Now, the worrisome part is a recent study which tells us, a study which came out about 7 days back, tells us that every second the area that is being acquired in developing countries is equal to the area of or to the total area of a football ground. Now, imagine this is happening every second. So the amount of the acquisition that are taking place legally, illegally across the globe, I think is phenomenal and is mind-boggling. There was a recent study by Oxfam which said that the acquisition that has been taking place across the globe today are equal to, the area that has been acquired to is almost equal to the cultivable area of both India and China put together. Now, this was something which was evaluated about a year back, but just imagine that, at this pace, where are we heading towards? I think the entire world is going to become landless as in a few years from now, and we are not understanding the political implication, the socio-economic implication of this phenomena of creating agriculture refugees. I thought over the years, some sensible economists or policymakers should have raised alarm that this is not what the world needs. This is not what we need for a sustainable development. This is not what we need to really correct the imbalances being created by climate change, and so on and so forth. But it didn't happen. In fact, all thrust is that we must push people out of rural areas into the urban areas, and that, according to them, is the pathway to growth, pathway to ultimate growth. Now, is that growth, or is it something that would lead us to actually a disaster? Is it economic growth, or what I normally would call it as a violent growth? When you move these people out of rural into the urban areas in India, you are making the villages go empty. At the same time, the cities are collapsing, and this is something which we have seen in the if you look at the Indian census for the last 10 years, 2001 to 2011, 10 years period, it tells us that 18 cities with 1 million plus populations were created in the last 10 years. There have been over 2,000 towns which have come up in the last 10 years. Now, this phenomena that people are concentrating into the urban centers, I think is something which will definitely create such an imbalance that the impact of which is not being even visualized. I think it is a challenge for all of us, ladies and gentlemen, to really stop and sit and think whether this is the kind of development that the world needs to really follow. I am more worried, and I'm sure you are equally worried, if this is a kind of acquisition, that pace of acquisition that is taking place across the globe. Now, let me tell you what India is doing. India, after the World Bank in 2008, in the World Development Report 2008, told us actually in that report that you have not been actually moving at the pace that the World Bank has actually asked us to do earlier. So they are telling us that, to ensure that you move to that prescription, or you follow that prescription and achieve 400 million people to be pushed out of agriculture, you need to go in for land rentals, which means, the land which is a wonderful resource has to now go into those hands of those who make it efficient use of that land, which means, they consider farmers to be inefficient user of the land. So he has to be pushed out. For doing that, they're advocating that, the younger people in the villages who do not know anything except for farming need to be trained. And trained for what? They need to be trained how to use sickle and hammer, which means how to become industrial workers in the urban areas. So they asked Government of India to set up a network of training institutes to train these farmers, young farmers. And look what the government did. This was in 2008 World Development Report. 2009, prior to we went to for elections in 2009, the finance minister actually made a provision for setting up 1,000 industrial training institutes across the country in the budget of 2008-2009. Now that clearly tells us the kind of prescription that comes from the World Bank, and the governments are falling blindly. Now, is that something that we should be concerned about? Is that something that we should be talking about? I don't find this being debated at all in the media. Neither do I find it debated in the parliaments. Neither do I find the academic world really being concerned about this kind of demographic shift that is taking place, and what it means to you and me, what it means to the future of the world, what it means to your future generation. I think this is something that the world must sit back for once, must have a kind of a rethinking on these kinds of economic policies, whether moving people out of rural into the urban areas is the path to grow. Why I'm concerned? Because I think perhaps the best answer to what development process should be was provided by Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi had some times back written that a country like India, and I think this holds true for all countries, a country like India should be focusing more on production by the masses rather than production for the masses. I think that's what is the mantra for actual or real development that the world must witness. We must ensure that it's not the companies which will provide us food. It should be the people who grow that food in a very sustainable way, and that should be providing them employment, capacity building of the people, and also ensure that the population is distributed in a manner that the earth can carry it. Otherwise, we are definitely pushing the world into a kind of a situation where perhaps I wonder whether we can be carrying that population, that concentration, or those ghettos that we are going to create in the days to come as a model or as a showpiece of what the development process has been all these years. There's something going wrong. There is something terribly going wrong, and I think we all need to sit back and be concerned about it. Thank you very much.